That's what I seem to do, is just write. With Life of Riley, I always think at the time, you know, my son Riley was born, and it was kind of wrote half of it waiting for him to be born and half of it just after he was born. And, you know, it's always, I mean, you know, it then became associated with the football because of the Match of the Day and stuff. But that's always said, would I write some stuff with him for his LP? And I was just in the middle of doing Sense, so we decided to write for that. And the track Sense came out of it, and it was the start of, I mean, I suppose the time I kind of come from is that kind of punk ethic thing, and I still sort of believe if you do something, it might be good or it might be bad, but it's going to cause some sort of reaction and act like a little bit of a lightning rod and make other things happen, and you'll either sort of, something good will come of it or not, you know. Now the Change video is really good, I think, and it was, it's probably one of my favourites, and it was a bit of a turning point, wasn't it, I think, you know.
I think we'd started to get our heads around videos then as well, you know. It was all a bit of a new thing because there was like one video, then months and months and months, then another video. I think that was when we started really understanding them a bit more, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it probably coincided, we'd just been to America and we'd done, you know, so we'd been on tour in America, and it just started feeling like, it sort of started to feel like the lightning seeds of it, didn't it, you know? It was a mad video to make, I remember that. And
an enjoyable video to make, actually.
Yeah. And again, Marvellous was, I suppose, been listening to a fair bit of kind of some of the underground ravey things, and that song kind of came from the intro. There was a really long intro on it with sequences and kind of a bit of a departure for us, and the song sort of grew out.
Lyrically, it's very lightning seeds perfect, you know. It's got a lot of Liverpool in there, I suppose.
It's a track that loads of people came to on that LP, and you know, was a lot of people's favourite song on it, I think, you know. And live, again, it took on a little bit of a different, sort of, a different thing. It was like, just seemed to gain a life of its own live and stuff. It's where songs are always, there's always a bit of a song ethic going on. I mean, people like guitars in Liverpool, I think.
There's just something really romantic about them, even though they're pretty, you know, they're not like the most well-to-do cities, you know, but there's a real romanticism about them.
I do feel there's a little bit of an atmosphere to Liverpool that makes people, you know, maybe go in a certain direction.
Wrong, isn't it, you know?
Yeah.
You've all had those nights where you're sitting there and you're thinking, God, there's something going on out there, and I'm sat here at home not doing anything. And it's a bit like that, I think, you know? A bit like, let me out.
What If was weird the way it came together, really, because the verses were written a long time before the choruses, and could never quite settle on what would be the right chorus for that verse. So it was kicking around for ages, and you know, at the end of the day, when it came together, it just seemed to have a lot of the things, you know, that we were listening to at the time. Turtles, Beach Boys, a lot of that kind of stuff in it, a lot of backing vocals, and a sort of a vibe to it, really. And I think when we finished the LP, that just seemed to stand out a little bit, you know.
It kind of summed up a time, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think groups, when you're travelling around and that, you get into listening to various things, you know, on the bus, and you all start, you know, it's kind of a shared experience in some ways, you know. And I think What If, probably a lot of that came out of that, really. We'd done a couple of gigs, and they'd played with us on the gigs, and I'd heard him singing, and you know, they just had a few songs. I'd heard You're Gorgeous being done live, and another song called I'm Too Handsome to Be Homeless, I think it was called. That was the lyric. And I just thought, I just really liked the words and stuff, and I thought it'd be great to maybe get together and write a song. And I think it's always like quite fun, if there's someone who you just think, oh, you know, that sounds really good. It's really nice to be able to say, should we get together and just see if we can come up with something, you know.
But he's got a really good sense of humour as well, Stephen, and that's always a bonus in a song, you know, instead of it just being, oh, me, me, me. it's, you know, if someone puts an odd slant in there, it's kind of a nice way to take it. And he's got a very dark sense of humour.
Yeah, and it sort of, I think the words came from the title, really, the idea of a sugar-coated iceberg, you know. We've been doing a lot of stuff as a group. That was a track that went back to using loops and machines, you know, and was less a jamming it around in a room thing and more, you know, going back to samplers and loops and stuff like that. But it just came together very quickly and sounded really good. I mean, originally we were doing it as a B-side, and then when it started coming together,
it just turned out so good.
Yeah,
it was like,
it felt like, well, this shouldn't be a B-side, this should be on the LP. But I did think it was a really exciting prospect that, you know, there was going to be a competition here for the first time since 1966. And it kind of felt like when we wrote it, it felt like to do something that became, you know, was the England song, but was for the whole competition rather than just for the, you know, just we're going to win the cup kind of thing, you know. And I think that's why we wanted to put in the footballs coming home and all that, so it made it the song for the competition and for the...
It just became public property, you know. It didn't even feel like our song in the end, did it? It was like, oh, they're singing that song again, you know.
Everyone was singing it and I was singing it along, and I just felt like, you know, it was nothing to do with me. It was just singing it along with everyone else. And then I thought, oh, you know, maybe I should, you know. Like, yeah.